On today's show, Deandre Ayton is likely leaving the Phoenix Suns. Can the Mavericks get in on that and make him the center that the Mavericks need? Plus, we'll get into Jaden Hardy and Wendell Moore's draft profiles. Nick Angstadt Isaac Harris on today's Locked On Mavs. Let's go.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, where the best way to help us grow is to comment below. Comment below. What do you think about Deandre Ayton? Should the Mavericks go after Deandre Ayton? Let us know. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com. No longer just a frozen face. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Oh, it's good to be back. Spectrum, I love you. Okay, sometimes you have rough patches. You make it through, and, you don't have to break up or anything. We're good now.
That was your 2006 finals yesterday, was that episode that we posted yesterday.
I did have to get in my car, like 1 a.m, drive to somewhere to empty parking lot and sit there creepy in my car and upload a file. But you know what? This is what we do for you guys. For you.
Yeah, that episode would have had really terrible phone quality audio if you hadn't driven to that random parking lot to give me that audio. So, shouts. All right, on today's show, lots. John Hollinger made some waves. I don't know if he expected to make some waves. I don't know if the Athletic expected him to make these waves. But in an interview back and forth between him and what's the Pistons Athletic?
Edwards.
James L. Edwards. They were going back and forth about whether Ayton is, could the Pistons trade for Ayton? Just one of those fun, not necessarily a rumor, but something that they could talk about, a fake trade scenario. Hollinger said, sources tell The Athletic that it's, quote, more likely than not that Deandre Ayton plays elsewhere other than Phoenix next season. Somewhere other than Phoenix next season. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden, people started running with that, and that seemed to be a big deal because, yes, that is a big deal. The former number one pick, the, max contract guy, or should be max contract guy, we'll see, could be playing somewhere other than Phoenix. And this has been a story for a couple of years. We've even talked about it on this podcast. Is Sarver going to pay Ayton? Is he going to give him that max contract? Is he going to give him $30 million a year, 35, whatever he can get on the deal, because he is a restricted free agent this summer, like this offseason right now. And so the time is now for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, and they didn't reach an extension with him. They're normally high draft picks like this, like Luka, Trae Young, like they're not going to hit, even Jaren Jackson Jr., they're not going to hit restricted free agency because they signed the extension. And it's such a fascinating situation because of bigs. Like it's almost like the offseason of bigs for me, of like, what happens with Gobert? What happens with Deandre Ayton, of the first overall pick, who isn't a bust? Like he isn't Anthony Bennett. Like,
shots fired.
It's where he's not, he's a really dang good player. So you can kind of see both arguments of, yeah, if you're the Suns, you can't lose him for nothing. Just freaking sign him. And then if you don't want him part of the future, trade him later on. Or you can see the other side saying, hey, we're in like win now mode. Like we don't have any time to waste. We want to get back to the finals. And our best way to do that is playing this like switchable small ball, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Booker, utilize another year, Chris Paul. Can we do a sign and trade with Ayton and bring in another wing or more mobile big or something like that? So you kind of see both sides. But man, if I'm them, I'm paying him. But Hollinger's stuff about him being elsewhere, I mean, there's no way in the world they just let him go for nothing, right? Like there's no way they pull the Bogdanovich and it's just like, all right, yeah, you can just, the Kings just letting him walk for nothing in restricted free agency. So then at that point, Phoenix has to engage in a sign and trade. And that's where it gets fascinating with teams around the league. Where does he want to go? What could be a piece that they could get back that would help him?
And so now you're starting to say, okay, well, are they going to trade Deandre Ayton? And some of that comes back to Deandre Ayton has not been the best fit there for them. Now, on the court, seems like an incredible fit. It's worked really well for them. They had an incredible record this past year. They did pretty well in the playoffs. Like, I think they made it 7 games with the team that made the Western Conference Finals. So, like, That's pretty good. That's pretty good for them, right?
What happened in that 7th game though? I can't remember.
Happy birthday, CP. I did my own drop there. But DeAndre Ayton has gone to blows with Monty Williams in that game 7 against the Mavericks. There's been situations. I was listening to Locked On Suns yesterday. Everybody should go listen to Locked On Suns yesterday. Brendan did a great job laying out this whole situation and how.
Leave him a comment.
Our good friend Brendan. Leave him a comment.
Leave him a comment. It just says Ayton to the Mavs.
He'll wake up with like a million comments and go, dang it, they're back.
Did that happen? Did I miss it?
But he said that Ayton hasn't been a great cultural fit there. There's been some things. Remember, he got suspended a couple years ago. There's that story about him not sleeping because of video games. However you want to take that story. There's just weird stuff about him and the team and wanting to be more of a focal point on offense, wanting to get his shots. Seems like there's a big man every single year that story comes out about them. And so now maybe it's Ayton that doesn't want to continue with the Suns, and the Suns don't necessarily want to pay him this max, and Ayton doesn't want to play for the Suns at the role that he's playing right now, and so they're at odds because like you said, the Suns should want to re-sign him and want to keep him just for the sake of the asset in general. But if both sides kind of don't want to do it, then they're just playing chicken with each other. And so here's this story that Ayton is more likely playing somewhere else. But can the Mavs get in on it? Is this something the Mavs could get in on? Because we've heard Nico Harrison go on the Ben and Skin show on the Eagle, go on different places, and even at exit interviews say, we got to improve rim protection. We got to improve at the center spot. We got to get a guy to come in here. And Ayton, we've talked about before, would be an incredible fit on the court in this. Now, if he wants his shots and things like that, I don't know how well that would fit with the Mavericks. It'd be sort of the same situation in Phoenix. But how could the Mavericks get in on an Ayton type trade?
Well, first off, would you want him? The answer for me is yes. If you can get a guy, what is on your coffee mug?
It says may the force be with you.
Wow, that's adorable. Obi-Wan's pretty good.
Happy Kenobi Day, everybody.
That's a pretty dang good show. I had one issue with it though.
No spoilers at all.
No. It's not even a spoiler. It's not even a spoiler.
Okay, it won't be me this time. This is Isaac Harris.
I tweeted it, so it's okay. How is somebody in hiding? Hey, I'm going to hide for 10 years.
Yeah.
So no one finds me as a Jedi. But homie, when he goes to any other planet or anywhere in public, he's like, you know what I'm going to wear? I'm going to wear the Halloween store of what a Jedi wears. Legitimately, the robe, the hood and everything. They'll never guess that I'm a Jedi. And it's like, no, bro, you look like a Jedi. You're the only dude in this whole scene that looks like a Jedi. Anyway. So back to DeAndre Ayton.
But here's Ayton, he's dressing up like he wants to.
If Dallas could pull off a way to pair DeAndre Ayton at 23 years old with Luka Doncic, I'm really entertaining it because I think Luka could make him even beyond better than what he was in Phoenix. And I am a believer in him. I've been a believer in him since the draft. But here's the thing. I think the only way Dallas would ever have a shot at it is some type of double sign and trade. And it has to involve Brunson. And it has to be Phoenix saying, all right, yeah, if it's Sarver trying to save money, it's a whole Brunson at 20 million compared to Ayton at 30. It's a whole we would rather have a younger pairing of a younger Brunson with Booker instead of, I don't know what it means for Chris Paul and all that. But I'm just saying, I think that's the only way Dallas could do it. And then you're just asking the question, would you rather have Ayton at 30 or Brunson at 20, even if Phoenix was willing?
Ooh, that is a question right there because it's a $10 million difference. And that is a big difference. At this point where the Mavericks are, I don't know if that $10 million difference matters too much because they're already in the tax. They already have, they're not going to have cap space. So the difference between Brunson and Ayton is not $10 million more in cap space. There's none of it. But you don't think they would do some sort of I don't know. No. Any combination. I mean, even if it was Dinwiddie, Maxey, and the 26th pick and Josh Green.
Because the only reason I said is because Dallas doesn't have cap space. If it's one of those things saying, all right, Phoenix doesn't want to max him and Ayton's sitting there saying, hey, well, Dallas has all this cap space. I just want to go there. Then you could try to get away with a smaller type of deal. If it's Detroit, it's dude, I could just sign there. And even though you can max it, But that's the type of thing. Like Dallas has no cap space, so if he wanted to come here, that's the only way it could really happen.
Yeah,
unless Dallas went out and shed all this crazy money somewhere and created all this cap space. Then, but
it'll be really interesting to see how DeAndre Ayton, what his price will be if he does get traded, right? Because they're even saying in this article that his price point is lower. Brendan Clean was saying, I understand that his price point is lower because of everything going on and him forcing out and being a restricted free agent and the other team having to pay them and all. It's so fascinating at this point in his career. I don't know if we've seen a guy at this point in his career like could get a max restricted free agent going like wanting at a different team. This is almost like a player asking out in their rookie contract, right? It's like right there. We haven't seen a player do that yet. Zion may, but we haven't seen somebody do that quite yet. So it'll be interesting. We'll cover this story more. We'll talk about it more in the coming days, but we got 2 draft profiles coming up for you. Is Jaden Hardy the guy that could be the secondary shot creator that the Mavericks have wanted, or the tertiary, another shot creator the Mavericks want? And could Wendell Moore be the 3-and-D wing that the Mavericks desperately need a third one of those? We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Sakara. Feeling your best starts with what you eat. Sakara helps you eat healthy, live a balanced life, and truly enjoy it with delicious plant-based transformational nutrition that builds a foundation for living your best body. Now is the time to seek wellness, joy, and abundance in all areas of your life. I was just thinking about some of the Sakara foods that I had. I can't think of any of the names off the top of my head, but they have incredible salads. I'm usually not a huge salad guy, but I liked what Sakara offered for you. The dressings are all really, really good on there. Usually you get a salad and it's like, oh, it's either too wet with the dressing and then the dressing's not good. And then you're like, oh, I regret this. But Sakara puts together really good food. I got to try some of it. My wife got to try some of it. She hates salads more than me and loved all their stuff. And they do way more than salad, too. They have a bunch of snacks. They have nutrition for your body to experience the results that you want. It's a wellness company anchored in food as medicine on a mission to nourish your body through the power of plants. Right now, Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakara.com/lockedon20. That's sakara.com/lockedon20. sakara.com/lockedon20. That's the number 20 to get 20% off your first order. sakara.com/lockedon20. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen. We have an important favor to ask you. We've put together a survey so we can learn more about you, the Raccoon Squad, the Locked On listeners. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and what you don't like about Locked On Podcasts. Go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey. All right, Isaac Harris, we were talking about DeAndre Ayton. Now we're going to get into some draft profiles. The first one we're going to start with is Jaden Hardy. 6'4", 190 pounds. He's got a 6'9" wingspan. He's going to be 20 years old at the time of the draft. He's spending his time with the G League Ignite, and this one sentence for him is simple, to me at least, and it was simple for the Ringer too. Pure bucket getter who needs to improve his efficiency and playmaking. Give me some strengths and weaknesses for Jaden Hardy.
Oh, you're gonna make me do the Jaden Hardy?
Oh, I can do it.
I thought you were gonna do.
Sorry, we did not talk beforehand. Smooth ball handler with a deep bag, moves to create space and launch shots off the bounce. He is a guy that can put the ball in the basket in a bunch of different ways: catch and shoot, driving to the rim. He can get his shot off basically anywhere, right? I mean, he's only 6'4", but the 6'9" wingspan helps him to like lift the shot over guys at times. Isolation scoring is like his thing. He's just another one of the incredible list of guys that have come through the NBA, just being able to get your own shot, score in isolation. He made 35.7% of his pull-up 2-point jumpers and only 27.4% of his threes off the dribble per synergy. So like the efficiency in the G League was not great for him this year, but he was asked to do a whole lot. And he averaged almost 20 points a game in the G League. It was a big step up from high school to where he was in the G League, playing against pros and all that. And on defense, he battles. There are times when he definitely is like not interested, but he can fight through screens, took some charges, battles through defense. That's what I'll let Kevin O'Connor. He's the one that wrote that on the Ringer. He can take that because I didn't see a ton of battling, but that was their take. Couple of weaknesses. he doesn't have a very quick first step. He's not a guy that's going to like really get past you. He's shifty and he can get around you. Like he's a little more rhythm than he is just like blazing speed to the rim. And he struggled to finish at the rim a little bit. He's not an not an uber athlete, but he is a good athlete where he's going to throw down some dunks and you're going to go, oh my God. And then the efficiency. I mean, he only shot 27% from three overall, but he did make 36.6% of his catch and shoot threes. And we saw a guy like Kuminga really struggle with his shot in the G League with the G League Ignite last year and then fare a little bit better in the NBA. So I wonder if there's just a big learning curve for that G League Ignite. This is only his second year of that team. So it's interesting. Yeah. We don't have a big sample size of how guys translate from, high school where they were to the Ignite and then to the NBA.
It's fascinating to see how people view Jaden Hardy because, you get a guy like Kevin O'Connor at the Ringer that has him as like a top 15 guy. Yeah. You see another big board that has him in the 30s. You see another big board that has him late teens and early 20s because...
Well, I have the ones that we look at. Raphael has him at 22. The Ringer had him at 15. ESPN mocked him at 22. And The Athletic mocked him at 23.
Yeah, so, there was the report, the Magic beat reporter for The Athletic said that, Harden... Robbins, I think it was Josh Robbins, who said today, Harden said in his, workout that he was going to has a workout for Dallas coming up. And I say it's so fascinating to see how people view him because he took the Jalen Green route. It was very high recruit, bypasses on college. Like, let me list you some guys that Jaden Hardy was above in the ESPN recruiting rankings. He was number two behind Chet. Okay. So that means he was higher than Paolo, is higher than Jabari Smith, Jalen Duren at Memphis. I mean, all the other guys in this draft class, basically coming out of high school, Ty Washington, all these guys, he was above them. And I remember when you're looking at his like recruiting and stuff, like his recruiting list, the teams he got offers from, Arizona, Kentucky, Memphis, like every one of these bigger teams that are offering all the top players right now, he got a. And I say that because he was this ultimate scorer coming out of high school, one of the top recruits of his class. He chooses the Jalen Green route and says, all right, I'm going to go to, G League Ignite team. It obviously worked out for Jalen Green because he goes in the top 3 of his draft. Yeah. Doesn't work out as much for Jaden Hardy in the G League. And he falls down a little bit, slips. He's not a projected top 10 pick. So now it's just kind of like beauty in the eye of the beholder of like how a team sees him and how you want to look at it and say, all right, are you going to be a legit number 2 option on a team and scoring? Like I'm not, I don't go as far as like giving like really hard yeses or nos on a guy, but I'm not like in love with him. I'm not in love with his fit in Dallas just because he is that microwave guy. I don't love the defense. I would prefer a 3-and-D type of wing instead of, hey, just go get me a bucket type of guy like Jaden Hardy. What's his ceiling? What does a team view his ceiling as? I wrote down Jordan Poole. Is he a Jordan Poole type of guy? Or is he a microwave guy who's not playing defense that can create a shot, get hot on the wing some?
The Ringer has the shades of like they're kind of like it could be a little bit of this player, a little bit of this player. And the 2 players that were up there were Bradley Beal. It's like you can kind of see it, same size as the jumper. If like everything comes together for him, he could be Bradley Beal. The other one was Dion Waiters. I was like, that is it. I was like, that's the spectrum right there for Jaden Hardy. It's like he could either be a 6th man of the year, he could be an all-star, or he could be Dion Waiters, right? Which is a good thing in some years and a really bad thing in other years.
Yeah. So I listened to this interview with the Ignite head coach the other day talking about Hardy because this is this Ignite team that had Dyson Daniels, had Beauchamp, had Jaden Hardy here. And
you listened to that on Big Board, right? Locked on Big Board.
Was it Big Board? Yeah. It was. It was Sam. Who was the guy? It wasn't Raphael.
No, it was Sam Ferris. Yep.
Sam Ferris. So great interview, quick 20-25 minute interview. So go check it out. He talks about all 3 of those players. He talks a little bit about Scoot Henderson at the end. But no, it was just. I just don't. It's hard to figure out exactly. You're either in love with him as a scorer at the next level, or you're viewing him as just a microwave guy off the bench that you hope that he can be efficient. And I'm kind of in between. I guess I kind of lean towards the latter of. I think that's his like route. And for Dallas, there's just a couple different types of players I would prefer than, hey, let's just go get the bucket getter.
I feel like there are players and prospects in the draft that you can watch a couple of like you can watch a couple games or even like a couple clips or highlights and read some stuff from people and go, I think I got it, right? I think I got it. With Jaden Hardy, you have to, I think you have to just watch every single game he's played in, see his decision making, see when he decides to go for a shot and doesn't. And like, you have to see all the processes that he goes through in every single decision that he makes and then make a calculated decision. And so I'm not going to, I haven't come to a decision on Jaden Hardy, to be honest, because I definitely didn't get to watch enough on him, and I'd have to watch a ton to be able to really feel like, okay, I think I have an understanding of this guy, because you just read all the stuff about him. It's like, okay, I've seen this guy 100 times before. You have to be so elite at these things that he's good at in order to be really good in the NBA. And so you go to why the Mavs should take him and why the Mavs shouldn't take him. If they do take him, they're betting on his ability to get his own shot and his physical tools so that he can become an ideal scoring threat next to Luka. Like he could be an all-star. He has the tools. He has the jumper looks really good. He's able to get his shot off anywhere on the court. He's 6'4". He's got the 6'9" wingspan. Athletic enough, right? Like if everything comes together, he could be that all-star type guy. But the reason why you don't take him is to be a top-level scorer in the NBA, you have to be elite as a shot maker. And we're not sure if he can get there, right? Was the efficiency in the G League that we saw shooting like 35% from the floor and like 27% from three, is that the efficiency we're going to see in the NBA? Does that improve? And I think that's the reason not to take him if you think that.
And it's about the fit too, to where like I'm a lottery team. I have another pick in this draft in that second round. I'm the Spurs. I'm swinging for it. Like that's where I'm swinging. But in Dallas, like I want somebody that can play in the playoffs. I want somebody I want somebody that's the 3-and-D that plays defense and all that stuff, instead of like, I think for him to get better, it's going to be, hey, allowing him to learn from his mistakes, be more efficient with the ball in his hands. Yeah. And he's just not going to come to Dallas and say, all right, whenever Luka's not on the floor, you're going to be getting the ball in your hands the whole time. So
Dinwiddie's just looking over at him like, the hell are you doing?
He's like, kids, sit down. Let me tell you about crypto.
But first, let me tell you about crypto.
But no, I think he could be good. He's just the first guy that we've talked about. We've talked about EJ Liddell, Jalen Williams, and Koloko, and we're going to continue our draft profiles. He's the first one that I'm like, I think he has a good future in the league. It's just as far as fit, there's a couple different types of players that I would prefer in Dallas over a Jaden Hardy.
And this type of player takes too long to have the impact that the Mavs need this pick to have, right? It's just
and watch them draft him, and then I'm just eating all my work. So.
They have a workout with him, right? This is the first one I think that we've learned that has a workout with the Mavericks. So that's why we're talking about him today.
And real quick, why you take him too? One more thing. Why somebody would take him in the 20s, especially at 26, and would be the selling point. I'm telling you right now, if they draft him, and the first pod that we're doing is saying, well, now you're taking the home run swing.
Yeah,
a guy that was number two in the class, right behind Chet, going in a year ago, going into college and G League season. Now you're going to get him at 26. Then holy crap! Like this is the home run type of swing on it. So that would be my selling pitch, brother. But
this would definitely be a home run swing. Coming up, let's talk about a double swing or a single ping.
Oh, whoa. That sucks.
Can Wendell Moore be the 3-and-D type of player the Mavericks need to add to the roster? They need at least one more of them. Could he be the guy? We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about BetOnline. It's the best place to check out the odds and lines for the NBA, NHL Conference Finals. They have the Stanley Cup coming up. I think the Rangers are almost getting there, but Major League Baseball, all kinds of other things. Right now, earlier today, they had Warriors Celtics tied for the series. It was like -110 for both of them. Right now, though, Warriors -120, Celtics +100. So if you're feeling good about the Celtics, this is the time. Now that you have good odds on them. So go check out all that kind of stuff for the finals. Draymond, you'll love this one. Draymond Green to be ejected from any game for the rest of the way in the finals. No is -600. Yes is +350. You put down $100.
Plus 200.
You put down $100. You can win 350 if Draymond gets ejected from any game. So go check it out. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris. We talked about Deandre Ayton. We did the draft profile on Jaden Hardy, who the Mavericks had a workout with, and now we talk about Wendell Moore, the 6'5". He was a junior at Duke. 217 pounds, 7-foot wingspan. He's going to be just about 21 at the time of the draft. Went to Duke, like I said. The one sentence descriptor on him is a playmaking wing who got off to a slow start in college, but has emerged as a do-it-all player in his junior season who could fill a number of different roles in the NBA.
Yeah, so you look at his role in this Duke team. Like, he played on this stacked team.
Yeah.
We're talking about Paolo, top 3 pick. Should be number 1 pick, by the way. Is that a little spicy? I think he should be. But
I think Raphael agrees with you too.
Mark Williams, AJ Griffin. I mean, even Keel stayed in the draft. Like, this Duke team has a potential that we look back on and say, holy crap, how they not win the national title?
How they not win?
Like, it could be a special class for them. But he ran a lot of their point. You know, like you said, he's 6'5", 7-foot wingspan. When you look at the difference between height and wingspan at the combine, he was like a top 5 player in the difference of that.
Yeah.
And we love those type of players.
Rectangles. Let's go.
Rectangles.
We should do a draft, draft phrases. Every time we say one of them, we should ding.
The rectangle.
Rangy.
High motor. He was on an ACC all defensive team. He is the definition of a 3-and-D guy. Like you said, he's 20. He's about to turn 21 right after the draft. He's 20 right now, a junior. So a little bit, vet as far as in college standards. Okay. His first, I say, because not a ton of players are entering this draft after junior year. So you start looking at upperclassmen.
Yeah, no, it just took him a while to get going in college, right? It's hard to break. It's hard to break into that Duke rotation, and he finally did the last couple of years, and then really had a huge role this past year. And also the shot had to improve, right? A couple of things, if you want to talk about strengths and weaknesses, is that he shot really well, 41.3% from 3 last year, but the year before that he shot 30%, and the year before that I think he didn't even take 1 3 a game and shot like 20%. So he's raised the bar and got better as a 3-point shooter, but he had to get better. So that's definitely something of note, because it could take him another learning curve in the NBA when he comes in. But yeah, the other thing is, I think Richard, Mavs Draft, came on this podcast and talked about him and said, oh man, he's the best cutter I think I've ever seen as a prospect.
Unbelievable.
That's a skill that I think the Mavericks can definitely use. And he's got a pretty good handle, can finish at the rim a little bit, but the cutting, the spot up shooting, he's just an ideal off-ball player on offense.
Yeah, and I mean that's what he had to be at Duke, and that's one of his strengths, especially when you look at a potential fit in Dallas, is he knows how to play off the ball. He was in the 94th percentile of cutting as far as points per possession on synergy in college basketball. He was talking about the improved shot. He shot over 40% this season at Duke. He shot over 42% in the ACC tournament and in the tournament in which they made their deep run on. So he's improved a lot. So one of the bigger questions is that real? Because it is one season. The year before that, like you said, he attempted 3 a game, just like this year, and he shot at 30%. So that's the thing with him. Even on spot up shooting, 92nd percentile on spot up shots on synergy. Like, he really improved shooting the basketball this year, and he's already really good defensively, especially with the long wingspan. He can guard multiple defenders. So, but I do want to say this. Also don't want to kind of just put him in the box of a 3-and-D guy, because he can handle the ball. Yeah. And that's why I don't like some of the comps that have been thrown out for him, because even I think, the Ringer had Josh Green.
I was going to talk about it.
But I lean towards more of a, and this isn't a perfect comp, but I lean towards more of like a Brogdon, in the sense of, He's that size. He's
same
like 6'5",
size and
6'6".
wingspan. Yeah,
he can wingspan. He's a good outside shooter. He can defend, but he can also he ran a lot of the offense. He initiated the offense at Duke. He was running pick and roll. He was So I prefer leaning towards that type of route, like sealing a Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart handles the ball and stuff some, but I don't like just the 3-and-D label for him, because he's not Dorian Finney-Smith when he first entered the league, and he can't dribble, and he's just in the corner. It's like, hey, let me shoot the shot. I'm good at that. He can drive right now. Like, he's better at driving and playmaking right now than Dorian Finney-Smith is right now.
Yeah, probably
at just driving and playmaking, not overall player, but just driving, to show you that he is already there he can handle the ball.
Yeah. He's not going to be your go-to offensive initiator though. He's not going to be that kind of guy. He's not even necessarily, you're not probably even going to draw up plays for him to do that kind of stuff. So if you're talking about some weaknesses, those are things. He's not going to hit shots off the bounce. He's not going to like drive through traffic and finish around guys like that. That's not what he's going to, but he can do those things if the defense shifts over to the other side and he's able to take advantage in that way, in the way that the Mavs have tried to ask Dorian to do this past year and things like that.
One of the issues with this past Mavs team, what happened a lot with shot clocks is Luka would drive, he doesn't get the shot. So what happens? He kicks it out to Reggie or Dorian or somebody else, or let's say Maxi's out there. Well, none of those three can run pick and roll or dribble. So then it's like, hey, we're just going to play hot potato around the perimeter until Luka comes back and gets the ball. And there's like 6 seconds left on the shot clock and he's launching it up. This is the situation where if Wendell Moore is out there, he can call for the pick and actually handle the ball and move a little bit. Like he's not your number 1 or number 2 option, but he can already be a 3-and-D guy who can put the ball on the floor.
Availability. He is kind of all over the place. Raphael had him at 28 on his big board. The Ringer had him at 35. ESPN mocked him at 37, and The Athletic had him at 37.
Yeah.
They're all pretty low on him, except for Raphael, who thinks he's a first rounder. So really, really interesting. He'll probably be available there for the Mavericks, and so this is definitely a player the Mavericks will probably have to think about and decide, do we want to take him at 26?
Because you ask yourself, he's going to be 21, so as much as I hate that whole age thing, but like if you're a team down there, it's like, oh, do I swing for a 19-year-old? Do I swing for a 21-year-old? Basically, the age stuff, the athlete stuff. He's not, jumping up and doing windmill 360s. He's not the, insane athlete. And if you don't believe that the shooting is sustainable, like those are a few of the reasons. I feel like some people could listen to what we just said and be like, oh man, he's like perfect 3-and-D guy. It's like, well, here's a couple reasons why he could be in the 30s.
Yeah, and we still have to see if the shot is real, right? He shot 30% his sophomore year, 40% last year. So another thing I wanted to say earlier about 3-point shooting in college is that the sample size is so much smaller. It's like a third of what it is in the NBA, or probably even less, because they play less minutes and they play way less games. They play 34 games instead of 82 games. So just the difference between that, a 40% shooter in the NBA is completely different than a 40% shooter in college. That's like, Reggie Bullock had like 3 different college seasons this year in the NBA, where he was terrible his first year, and then he was incredible at the end of the season for the Mavericks just this year. And so that's something to take into account. I don't know if that's positive or negative. Is it positive that okay, well, he shot 30% last year, but that's a small sample size too. So maybe he's a better shooter than that season counted for. It's just interesting to look at. But
I will say he's shot above 80% from the free throw line all 3 seasons. And for a lot of people talk about shooting stuff, that is one of those indicators of, hey, can you be a good, sustainable 3-point shooter moving forward? And it's like, yeah, he shot 80, 84%, and 80% in his 3 years.
Why the Mavs should and shouldn't take him, I have the same sentence written.
For both?
And you're not going to like it already. Do you want another chance at Josh Green, but a year and a half older at the time of drafting? That's why you should and shouldn't take him. Because everything we talked about with Josh Green, plus a little bit more with the ball handling, is what Wendell Moore did, right, in his college. And he's a year and a half older than Josh Green was when they drafted him. And so you're getting the same chance at the same type of player again. It's just he may be a little bit better in certain areas the Mavs need.
I think he's not the exact same mold as Josh Green, though.
Just almost. I mean, what's the difference? It's just the ball handling and
he can handle the ball. Yeah, I believe in his shooting and his shooting form more than Josh Green's shooting form. I think Josh Green's a better passer. You could probably say Josh Green's a better athlete, but I think
Wendell Moore has a 7-foot wingspan and Josh Green was only like 6'9". So yeah,
but I think Wendell Moore is the better prospect right now. I think next year, if you're saying, all right, if these 2 dudes went into camp, I think I would say that Wendell Moore would come out of that on top.
Right now. Yeah. So you get another, but that's what I'm saying. You get another chance at the type of player that you wanted with Josh Green, and you get to try it
again. And that's what you want. Like, we want another wing. Like, we want a wing in this rotation. Like, you're taking a swing at this spot, and the swing that you're going to take, if you're going to swing for a wing, is most likely going to be a 3-and-D guy that you want Josh Green to be. And you know what? If you do swing for it, and they both work out, Awesome.
Great.
Now you got a couple of dudes. You can never have enough, because that's what I put down. Watching the Mavs draft him. I say you can never have enough of these guys in the playoffs. A 3-and-D wing who can make plays off the dribble. And it's like, yeah, if it works out, then great. He's coming off the bench, backing up Reggie and Dorian. And why you don't do it though? The only reason why I would say you don't draft Wendell Moore at 26, besides like, oh, there's somebody else that fell and like, let's take him, whatever, is if you don't believe the shooting is real. Because if he can't shoot, then I'm sorry. Like, it's not like he's Kawhi Leonard and he's like, dude, you're just going to lock everybody up. He's a good defender, but it's not like he's winning Defensive Player of the Year. So that if you don't believe in the shooting, you don't draft him. But if you think it's real, the 42%, then I'm all about, I love Wendell Moore. I think I think in a way, he's kind of like a weird wing version of a Jalen Brunson type, the upperclassman, not the extreme athlete type of guy, but super smart. And that's typically like if Donnie Nelson was still GM, I'd be like, dude, this is his pick right here. Like this is him. And Finn still has a lot to do with draft. Like, true. We talked to
Michael
Nico and talked to Nico there in the Bay when we had him on the podcast there and asked him about the draft. And he's like, yeah, I mean, Finley's, at the combine right now. Finn's been running the stuff. So Finn's going to have a say. So Brunson was Finn's guy. Like Finn loved Jalen Brunson and stuff coming to the draft. So that it would not shock me if Wendell Moore, had Dallas across his chest next year.
That'd be exciting. I think I would be down for that after everything I just saw and everything I just said. I played the heel a little bit in this profile, but
you say Keel? That's his teammate.
There you go. That's Wendell Moore. We talked about Jaden Hardy. Guys, thanks so much for making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Check out Locked On NBA Big Board next. They got great stuff all the time. Did you see that quote that the Western Conference executive said about Shaedon Sharpe? Like, how dare anybody pick him in the top 5? Did you see that quote today?
David Aldridge?
Yeah, David Aldridge. Raphael had that 3 weeks ago on the podcast. He had that almost the exact same quote from maybe the same guy, but from somebody. So he's locked in. He's got a bunch of sources. Check out Locked On NBA Big Board for all your draft stuff, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!